also like to invite Gabriel to the stage. We've already introduced him, and they're going to kick off. I believe Gabriel is going to start, and then Julia is going to be finishing. So let us give them all of the attention that they deserve because they prepared the study with much love. Thank you, guys.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, I'm going to be talking about part 2 of the book Heaven and Hell with Spirit Communications. So, the first spirit I'm going to talk about is. Why can I have to do this every time? Is a Russian physicist. Okay. He's a Russian physicist. A physicist is.
You're gonna have to ask them to change the slide because
Okay.
it's not working.
Oh, okay. All right. You can change the slide. Okay. So the first spirit I'm going to talk about is a Russian physicist. A physicist, just to clarify, is a scientist who studies and researches the fundamental laws and principles governing the physical universe, including matter, energy, space, and time. And a very famous physicist, just so you guys can get familiar, Isaac Newton. So, a very quick introduction to the spirit. He already had moral qualities. He was already an advanced spirit. He had good manners. He had moral qualities. And a big plus, he believed in God. He had faith in God. Okay, so let's begin. That was just a very quick introduction for him. So, okay. So, soon enough, you're going to see a picture of a man suffering, right? Like kind of crying. But why do I choose to put this picture? Because even though the spirit said he was very elevated and he was very happy, he's a moral spirit, he said that he suffered a lot during his lifetime. Okay, and now some of you may ask, okay, the spirit said that suffering was an act of mercy from the Lord. Now, how can suffering be an act of mercy from the Lord? I'm looking at some of you guys, you have like question marks above your heads. How can suffering be like an act of mercy from the Lord? I'll tell you. So, suffering is part of human life, is part of reincarnation, right? We're going to have to suffer a little, we're going to have to go through hardships. Going through these hardships, like I said, it's part of life. You're going to have to go through it. We're only on a level so down low here in the evolution, right? That it's just like we're going to have to in order to improve. That's how we improve. We go through hardships and then we learn from our mistakes, and that is how we improve. No one is perfect, right? No one is perfect. The only perfect spirit to ever walk the earth is Jesus Christ. Okay, he was perfect, both moral and intellectually perfect. He came here to earth to give us all of the examples. He taught us how to love, he taught us how to forgive, he taught us how to do charity. Okay, he taught us everything that we are supposed to know in order to evolve. So if you want to take anyone for example, right? Oh, I want to my hero. You know, some people say, "Oh, my hero is this person." Your hero, your top hero should be Jesus because he set up all the lessons for you. He suffered a lot in this earth to show you how to love, okay? And like I said before, that suffering is kind of, and going through these hardships is part of life. Okay, good, just making sure. It's part of life. And we're in the stage, the planetary stage of trials and expiations. So I'm going to explain to you guys just a little bit about like these different planetary transition stages. There's 5 of them. So the first one is primitive. Primitive mean cavemen, dinosaurs, having to hunt for food, um, going to caves for shelters, animalistic instincts and animalistic tendencies. Okay, primitive, the beginning of everything. The second stage would be trials and expiations, also known as tests and expiations. Like I said, these tests, they're going to be hard tests. We're going to have to go through these tests in order to evolve. And let's say expiations. Let's say I was like in the medieval ages, right? I was a guy who cut off people's hands because they stole. It's very medieval stuff. Maybe in this lifetime or another lifetime, I'm going to come back with no hands. I'm expiating the things that I did wrong, correct? Is everyone agreeing with me so far? Yeah? Okay. And I just want to talk about like these examples. Oh, a hand cut off or born without a hand. So your body is perfect for you. Your body may not have the perfect functions like grabbing, walking. You may not see, you may not hear. You know, there can be some physical challenges for you along this lifetime. But your body that you chose is the best for you right now, for you to expiate all the things that you did wrong in the previous lifetimes. And then we move on to regeneration. So regeneration is like the calm after the storm, but with a little rain on top. That's what I like to call it. Because actually, for trials and expiations, the bad overcomes the good, but for the regeneration, the good overcomes the bad. But that does not mean everything's going to be perfect. Some people think, oh, we're going through this planetary transition from the second to the third stage. Everything's going to be perfect. It's not. We're still going to have to go through challenges. We're still going to have to evolve, right? But like I said, it is calmer. We're regenerating from this whole like storm that we're going through right now. And then the fourth stage, happy. So the happy stage of planetary transition is happy, where the bad, there's pretty much no evil left on Earth, right? The good very overcomes the evil. And I want you guys to think about a time where you felt truly happy. Really think about it. Like it can be 50 years ago, 1 year ago. I'm sure no one here is above 50, by the way. Everyone looks very young. But think about a time. So that happiness that you experienced, that true happiness here on earth they experience, that is like a glimpse of what it actually feels like when we get to this stage of happy planetary transition. And then for the last one, we have pure. The pure planets, which only the pure spirits, the perfect spirits, like I said before, both morally and intellectually pure spirits can inhabit, such as Jesus. He can go to other pure planets, but that is only specifically for the pure spirits. Now that we're still talking about evolution, I want to talk about evolution. So there's no denying the fact that evolution is a real thing, right? There's absolutely no denying it. Look millions and millions and millions of years ago in the ice age, right? We had nothing. The whole world was covered in ice, snow, still with woolly mammoths and stuff, very unevolved animals. And now think of this, millions and millions and millions of years later, we have the industrial age. That is a long time from having absolutely nothing and having to hunt for foods with spears to an industrial age. And only a few years later, very few years later, we have the modern world. So the modern world, as you guys can tell, we live in the modern world. This is modern currents. So look already how much it evolved from only the industrial age all the way to the modern world. It's a huge step in evolution. Okay, now I want to ask you guys a question. Who is afraid of death? You don't have to raise your hands, but who is afraid of death? And think about it. Why are you afraid of death? Or maybe why are you not afraid of death? Some people say, oh, I'm not afraid, but truly deep down, they are. Okay? So, let me tell you guys something. You should not be afraid of death. Why? Because the spirit is immortal. We are our own spirits. We are here on this earth, incarnated, meaning in a physical body, this body physical that we are in right now. That's the body that dies. Our spirit lives on forever. Ever since our spirit was born, it's immortal, does not die. Immortal meaning doesn't die. Okay? And then the medium asks the spirit, were you afraid of death? And the spirit replies with, no, I had too much faith in God for that. So, whoops. He had too much faith in God to be afraid of death. So, the disconnection, because he had so much faith in God, the disconnection between his physical body and the disconnection between his physical and spirit was a lot easier than if someone is materialistic. Sorry, I'm here now. Okay, that's right. The disconnection between his spirit and his physical body was a lot easier because he already had his faith in God. He already had this concept of what he would do after death. But like I said, for more materialistic people, like attached to earthly things, like having nice cars, nice houses, having a lot of money, all they care about is money, partying, drinking, all these material things. They're too attached to it, meaning the disconnection between his spirit and his physical body is going to be so much harder when he actually passes on to the other side. And it just a little connection that the Egyptians, they used to put things like jars, amulets, gold, even food in their tombs, thinking that they were going to need it in the afterlife. They won't, because all you bring is your spirit. You will bring absolutely nothing but your spirit. Physical body stays here. Okay, so after the spirit's death, he was brought, I can't speak, guys. He was brought to a very elevated place. Now, I put a picture of Nasulat here, or our home, just an example, right? Because this is like probably the most famous spiritual colony there is. But Nasulat is not the only place that we go to after we leave our physical body. There's many colonies, we call them spiritual colonies, and there's many of them, infinite. I brought a little uh, verse here from John chapter 14, verse 2 to 6. My father's house has many mansions. What is my father's house, right? God's house, meaning the universe. I know there's a picture of a galaxy, but think of it as a universe. His house has many mansions, meaning many places to live in, many planets for spirits to populate, many spiritual colonies for the spirits to populate. Okay, infinite, infinite. We know the universe is infinite, so there has to be infinite mansions for us to live in, the spirits to provide with. So after the physician was brought to the colony, he met with friends and family from the past. So usually when we disincarnate, right, when we leave the physical body and we go to a spiritual colony, sometimes we can have the benefit of meeting up with friends and families from past lives. But that has to be according if God grants you the permission to. Let's say my mom is more involved than me, right? I'm less involved than my mom. My mom is going to leave her physical body earlier than me, but when I also leave the physical body, I may not have the chance to see her because maybe she's more involved than me and I'm less involved. So there's not really much of a permission for us to see each other. There could be, but there always has to be permission from God. And the Spirit then says, he wouldn't get to where he is right now without many incarnations. Yes, the truth is you need to reincarnate. You need to work to be more evolved. You need to work. That's it. That's the plain, simple answer. You need to work. You need to actually go through things in order to evolve. Whether it's good things, we all go through good things. That is also part of evolution. But sad news, we also have to go through bad things also, right? To learn from our mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to make other people sad. We're going to make other people happy. It's part of life. It's how it goes. So I want to bring you guys about being like, oh, doing good things. Because I think I've talked a lot about bad things right now. So I want to talk about good things. Chapter 17 of the Gospel according to Spiritism on the part, be perfect, right? O homem do bem. So they bring like 2 pages there listing what a moral person does, right? Like 2 pages, paragraphs listing what they do. And at the end, they say that that's not even all the qualities that they have, right? So, wow, newsflash. But if we take 1 or 2 paragraphs, 1 or 2 good things, and we work on that for a month straight, right? Some of them are going to be harder than others. Yes, that is part. But if we take 1 or 2 things a month to work on that, to truly work on it, like your life depends on it, then it's going to be a lot easier to actually then go through all the other ones. Like I said, some of them are going to be easier than others, but take one thing to work on it for a month straight, and then just keep working on it for the rest of your life. And that is how you actually get better, right? That is how you do charity. So now I have a little story time for you guys. Before the story time, I have to say that we have to socialize, right? This is a little like backstory for the story. We have to socialize. We have to live with people. We have to, like I said before, socialize with people, right? In order to evolve. We can't evolve without socializing, going through bad things with people, going through good things with people, right? So the story time is there was once a man who lived on a village. And this man decided to leave everything behind. He had a wife, he had kids, he left all of his friends behind in the village. And then he decided to go to the top of the mountains, and all he did was meditate. He ate, he drank water, slept, and that's it. 4 things that he did for the rest of his life. A long time to be doing just meditation, right? So eventually, natural phenomenon, he died. He left his physical body. He went to the other side. And then there he saw a big, by the way, this is just a made up story, it's not real. He saw a big golden gate in front of him. And then when he was about to enter, this angel just went down and stopped him from coming in. And then the angel said, "You're not allowed to come here." The guy said, "Why? I disconnected from all the material things and I went to the mountains to meditate, to just do meditation all day, right? So why am I not allowed in?" And the angel said, yes, that is good that you disconnected from the material things. That is awesome. But what good did you do to other people? And then the guy stared at the angel for like 10 seconds, not knowing how to respond because the guy had no interaction with anyone else. He didn't have interaction, meaning he couldn't love, he couldn't do charity, he couldn't do any of those things. So he wasn't allowed in because when you do literally nothing, when you sit on your bed watching Netflix, eating popcorn all day, and you're doing absolutely nothing, that is benefiting no one. No one around you, not even you. No benefits on that. So don't change it. So then, um, let's say it is December 1st of 2025 right now. We hear pretty much 99% of the population say, January 1st, I'm going to start going to the gym. January 1st, like the teens say, I'm going to lock in. January 1st, I'm going to start doing this, that. Why procrastinate? Why are you procrastinating? There's no point in procrastination. There's no point in waiting so long for you to actually start doing something. So guess what? A bunch of you after, let's say yesterday, they were like, wow, I'm feeling inspired. I want to do good things to other people. After this event, I'm going to do good things. Not after this event, right now. You guys are literally going to do good things right now. So this is what I want you guys to do. Turn to someone and you're going to wish them a good morning. You're going to have a nice little conversation with them and you're going to emit good vibrations to them. Even if you don't want to speak to anyone, I want you to think, I want you to at least vibrate a little bit of happy energy to someone else right here. Go ahead, start socializing. I'll stop you guys in about like a minute, by the way. Oh, good morning. I'm doing fantastic. How are you? Oh, I'm great. Yeah, how are you doing? Yeah, you good? Are you good? Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Look at these guys. I'm making all like happy dots. I don't have my watch. You guys have 30 seconds left. 30 seconds to wrap up the conversation. So speed it up. Speed it up. Okay. Let's start wrapping up. Let's start not conversating because we still have some things to do, right? I have very little things to talk about now. I'm going to move on into the next spirit. Not thank you yet. Nope, no thank you. No, we still have more. So what's next? Another spirit, Maurice Gontran. So just a little backstory on Maurice. By the way, like I said before, this is going to be a very short spirit to talk about. So Mr. Gontran was 18 years old when he left his physical body due to a lung disease. He had a rare intelligence and had a gentle, loving, and likable character. His death left some painful scars to his parents, and they blamed themselves for it. There's the backstory of Maurice. Okay, it's very self-explanatory. Oh, what did I do? I messed up, guys. Okay, we're good. So there's a little backstory on Maurice. So after Maurice died, right after he left his physical body discarnated, he left a message to his parents. It said, my dear and kind parents, I am now addressing you. Ever since I left my mortal remains behind, I have nothing left. I have never left your side. I am there even more often than when I was living. Take heart, for I am not dead. Rather, I am much more alive than you. Only my body only my body died, but my spirit will live forever. It is free, happy, and without disease, affirmity, and pain. Instead of feeling afflicted, rejoice in knowing that I'm in an environment exempt from concerns and anxiety, and where my heart is full of the purest joy without a shadow of trouble. So that is the message that Maurice left to his parents. Very touching message, yes. So why did I want to bring Maurice up to the lecture? Because like I said before, he was only 18 when he left his physical body. And I hear people say quite often, not too often, but why did God take the life away of just a little teenager, just a child? Some babies die when they're literally just born, right? So why did God do that? Why did God decide to just take away everything he had when he probably had so much to live for? Well, in Maurice's case, he said it himself that he had to go early because he had a more elevated mission to do. So that is Maurice's case. Now, in other cases, in the gospel, I forgot the chapter, but I'll say it to you guys. Sometimes when you don't need to stay in this planet for a really long time, God grants you the permission to leave early because maybe you would have dealt with so much pain, with so much affliction for no reason that you didn't have to go through. Okay, so maybe life can grant you like this opportunity of leaving early without feeling the pain and affliction that you actually don't need to feel. Okay, so that's just to clarify a little things. So that, like I said, that was a very short lecture, and I hope that at least one person took something from this today. At least one. I hope that I planted a little seed inside of you guys. And I hope that you guys stay connected with Jesus and with God, and that you truly feel inspired to do good things after this. And may Jesus be with you all. And thank you so much for listening. I won't be back here. Some of you guys are probably tired of seeing me already. I won't be back here. Don't worry. Nope, not by the way. So, by the way, um, I have to thank Andrea for this, right? Everyone give Andrea a little round of applause. She's amazing. We love Andrea. So, Andrea decided that this was going to be my first lecture, and my heart is absolutely pounding right now. But thanks, Andrea, for this amazing opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Hello? Perfect. Back? How do I go back now? No, spoiler it. Perfect. Thank you. Hello. Yeah. Hello. Okay, we'll use this one. Hi, everyone. How are you doing today? Um, I was so impressed by Gabriel. He didn't have any notes or anything. I have like 3 iPads. I had the whole team set up like 300 things for me to look at. But we're here. And I just want to thank the opportunity, Andrea, Marcelo, Teresa, for giving us the opportunity to share a little bit of what we know, a little bit of what we want to portray to other people that are our age and to relate with. So I brought a little study that was very I really went back to it a couple times to find what would be the message that I wanted to get through. And I decided when we were talking about it that I was going to talk about the concept of heaven and hell itself. So what does heaven and hell means, and what does that mean for us to understand? What is it going to change our lives if we understand the concept of hell, heaven and hell according to spiritism? So that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. So my first slide, I just wanted to give a little background into why I love the topic of heaven and hell. I did not have the gift like Gabriel to grow up in a spiritist family. I actually grew up Catholic, and then my parents weren't very religious, so we kind of bounced to church, understood a whole bunch of different concepts. And it was always very challenging for me to understand that God was fair and just in the divine justice when I couldn't really understand a God that would punish somebody forever, that would send one of like his child like to burn in hell forever. Or the other side, where he would send somebody to heaven where they wouldn't do any work, they would lay back, eat some grapes, and have that as their like heaven. I'll be like, I am very anxious. Like, I really need to be doing something. I need to be walking around, talking to people. If I was supposed to be in hell, it's supposed to be in heaven that way. It would be my hell, honestly, because I could not be just sitting back and eating grapes and having somebody fan over me. So definitely was a topic that brought up a lot of questions for me. And when I initially learned about spiritism, it was one of the things that really stood out to me, the concept of heaven and hell to spiritism. If we know a little bit of the movies we watch and things that have like all over that make us picture heaven and hell the way it is, where there's like the heaven, which everything is beautiful, and hell, where everything is like hot and burning, and then there's punishment and pain. When we picture it like that, it really brings us back to thinking if that's the God we believe in, right? If that's divine justice. So when I was studying, I went back into the chapter of the book Heaven and Hell, and I read through, and it was talking on a page that it's explaining what heaven and hell is according to what became built in Christianity, that we know that Christ talks about heaven, the kingdom of God, and he talks about hell. And it brings a perspective that every religion that we come in contact with, there is a concept of heaven and hell in all of them. All the religions that believe in afterlife, there is a concept of heaven and hell. It might be different because some of them believe in like an eternal heaven, some of them in the purgatory, all over. But the main goal is really to gain heaven and gain entrance to heaven and avoid hell. And we can understand that Spiritism also wants us to do that, but in a very different way, bringing you back to your responsibility. So I'm going to pass, let's see, it's working? Perfect. So the first question on the Spirits book that I brought for us to reflect a little bit on today is the question 1012. And where Kardec asks the spirits, are there any specific places in the universe set apart for joys and sorrows of spirits according to their merit? And the spirits respond, the joys and sorrows of spirits are inherent to their degree of perfection. Each spirit finds the principle of its happiness or unhappiness in itself. As spirits are everywhere, there's no enclosed or confined place set apart for either one or the other. So this question already makes you think, so heaven and hell, like they're not a geographic space, they don't exist, like it's not like a place. And it really is not. And we're going to look into a little bit of more of that. But why do we tend to think it's a geographical space? And that's where we'll come to the continuation of the question, where the spirits explain. A fixed place for rewards and punishment exists only in the imagination of human beings. It stems from a tendency to materialize and define things of which one cannot grasp the infinite essence. So when I was reading this and I was studying this topic, I was really thinking back of the tendencies that we have. Right now, and like Gabriel explained in his palestra, there's 5 roads that we like elevate over. We're still on the second one. We're not really good, guys. Like, we're still in the very beginning. We have so much work to do. And when I read this, I just understood how limited we are right now. Our minds are so limited that we can't really picture the truth. And because we have all of these material things that we're still so attached to, we believe that everything that's divine is material. And it's not. When we understand the concepts of spirituality and spiritism, we see that this is our tendency to think there's a geographical place somewhere that we're all going to go to. Oh, we sometimes talk about like, oh, the spiritual plane, when I die, I'm going to go to that place. No, this is it. This right now is what the spiritual plane is. This is where we live in. And this is where we're going to go. And it really is back to what you have inside of you. I'm not sure if you guys have like related to somebody that's going through a really tough time in their lives, and they're having like this really bad thoughts, they're very negative, and you can see through that person the way she materializes with the things she wears, the music she listens to, how her place looks, how her room looks, because of the state of mind that they're in. So sometimes you're gonna see somebody like wearing all black and having like a very negative thought. You're gonna see that that person, because of their thoughts, that's what they're materializing. That's what they're portraying. Somebody that might be going through like a depression or something, you go to their room, it's gonna be messy, right? Like it's not gonna be organized because that person is portraying what they have inside of them to the outside. And that's what we do constantly in our lives. And that's the concept of heaven and hell, right? So we're going to look a little bit more on that and how, because of the thoughts that we have, that's why we create places such as like umbral that Andre Luis describes in his books. What is umbral? Is it like an actual place? No, it's like a whole bunch of spirits vibrating on the same that level, attached to the same material things, creating that spiritual space where they're attached to the vibration levels. So it's really a concept of understanding. It's one thing my mom would always say to me when everybody on my class would fail a test, and I would be like, but everybody failed, mom. You can't just punish me because I failed the test too. And she goes like, but you're not everybody. Do you want to be like everybody? And I was like, oh my God, this lady doesn't understand anything about life. I know. But now I realize that it really is that we are the sum of the people that are around us. And that's where our vibrations are going to be. And if we are with people that are vibrating low, we could be led into a state of hell more easily just within ourselves. And if we have a really good vibrations, people they're positive. When somebody walks in and they're all smiley and they're all happy, they're like, oh my God, that person's really nice, because we feel that energy, we feel the power, right? So that's what we're going to discuss a little bit. And oops, let me go back here. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is the state of heaven itself. And I like to bring this passage from the Bible, from Jesus, when the Pharisees asked when the kingdom of God would come. And Jesus replied, the coming of the kingdom of God is something that can be observed, that can be observed, nor will people say, here it is or there it is, because the kingdom of God is with you. And when I was doing this study and I was reading that passage, it really brought me back to thinking that the state of abundance of material things is what we as very still like instinctive humans think about. But the truth is the kingdom of God, heaven, what we call the so amazing heaven that we all want to go to, is really inside of us. And Jesus says that when he's talking in this passage, how much we are expecting, right? The Pharisees were thinking that something that's there or here, and then Jesus will be like, hey, here's your ticket. Just go and show the guy at the front door, and you're going to go to heaven. And then Jesus is like, no, that's not how it is. This here, you are going to choose if you're going to go what state you're in, and if you're in heaven, if you're in hell. He gives you the responsibility. So it's not fair for us to throw in other spirits or other people, be like, oh my God, this person is just like not going to make me go to heaven, because it's honestly your responsibility within yourself. So it's really important for us to think about that. So I'm going to keep going here. So it's, and then when I was thinking back on this concept too, I was thinking about a diamond and how much there's always that saying that the diamond is a rough like rock, right? And when we see the diamond, we don't really, if you see it inside a rock, you don't really see the beauty of it. You don't really see the value of it until you start to refine that diamond, cutting little by little until you find what's inside of you. And that's what the heaven that Jesus is talking about, is that diamond, that like divine conscious that we all have inside of us. And what about hell? So if heaven is inside of us, according to Jesus, not to me, okay? He said that. If heaven is inside of us, hell, where is it? Also inside of us. And we choose also if we're in state of heaven and hell, which is very important here, because when the spirits describe on the book Heaven and Hell in chapter 7, they describe they describe as hell is consequently whenever there's souls that suffer, bringing us back to the understanding that's that group or that one person that's vibrating on that suffering level, that they can't see an ending to that. And that brings us back to the question 1014 of the Spirit's book, where the Spirits explain, hell means a life of extremely difficult trials, characterized by uncertainty with regards to improvement, while purgatory is a life of trials embarked upon the certainty of a happier future. And when I was listening to that part and studying this part of the study, it really brought me back the understanding, because we all here are going to have trials, right? We're all going to go through hardships, we're all going to have hard times, we're going to have things that are not so nice to happen to us and people that are not so nice. But the key here to not be in a state of heaven, sorry, to not be in a state of hell, it really is understanding that there's better to come, because we know that we are in a planet of trials and expiations. We understand that we are going to suffer, and we understand that we're going to expiate. But when we have the understanding that something better is there for us, we change the mindset from being in a state of heaven to understand that we're just going through an incarnation, which is called the purgatory for us, right? Which is where we're going to pay for the things we did on our past lives. We all have very dark secrets behind our past lives we don't have to share. But we will have to eventually look back and expiate the things we did. And that's going to be what describes the purgatory, which is our incarnations. And in the question, he continues the spirits and he says, God created them simple and ignorant, and all of them must progress in due course according to their will. Oops. However, an irresistible desire to escape a state of inferiority and to be happy stimulates the spirits to do better. The law that regulates the duration of a spirit's misery is incredibly wise and compassionate, that the duration depend on its own efforts. It is never deprived of its free will. However, if it uses it improperly, it must bear the consequences of its errors. And that's St. Louis on question 1013 of the Spirit's book. And when looking back at this, when we talk about hell, there's the concept that really scared me was exactly this, that this is talking about against, right? That we are not going to be in that eternal state of hell. There's something better waiting for us when we cross that difficulty line, the expiation line. We are going to get there. And when I created this, I'm very visual. So I created this little graph here that we're going to kind of walk through. So the first one, this is the concept of hell in heaven that I had before Spiritism. Remember, I wasn't born in Spiritism, so this is what I understood. And one side we have, wait, let me see which side. So one side we have absolute goodness. So here is like the best of the best, and this is our heaven, right? And over there we have absolute evil. And if we consider a world, there's like a devil that's reigning the hell, and they're as powerful as our God. The first line is what we're looking at, where we start right in the middle, and we have constant pulling for this side and constant pulling for this side, where we go into between good and bad. But what is our end line here? It's either one or. But when we understand the concept of spiritism, we move back to this second graph that I brought for us, where one side we have ignorance, which ignorance is like not knowing, not understanding, being primitive. Like we still have a lot in us, they're ignorant, right? That we used to live, like back to Gabriel's presentation, on the planet of the primitive planet, where we would have to do all these crazy things to live and have that like really need for like power, because we needed to get like food for our family and like the need of surviving, right? And in the other side, we have absolute goodness. When we understand the concept of spiritism, this is what happens. God helps us place ourselves in the beginning of that line, where we didn't know anything. We know that the evolution goes from the atom to the archangel, right? So we were like those very atoms that we didn't know anything. And we constantly evolve towards divine goodness. We are all programmed to be here. We're all programmed to be truly good. And we go little by little. Maybe some of us are going to take the long way to get there. Some of us are going to take the shorter way. There's going to be ups and downs. Some of us are just going to be stuck. Like Gabriel said, move to the top of the mountain, do nothing. They're going to be like very stuck on the beginning of the line, and they're not going to move forward. But when you choose to be better, you only go up. It's a choice only up from here, right? And when we were talking about the activity that we're gonna do with the youth today, Chinia brought a very very nice idea for us to demonstrate this. And she was talking about a Word document. I know a lot of us deal with like Word documents, deal with like Google Docs or something. And when you first open it, it's that blank page, right? There's nothing in that page. You didn't put anything in there. But in the background of that Word document, there's the programming, right? That the people who developed the Word document, they created the features, they created the fonts, they created the letters, they created everything. And they created it. That's We're gonna picture that as our divine light inside of us, right? That's what we have. That's the programming. When we start typing on the page, we start typing all of the things that we want to do for our projects. And then eventually we type an incorrect word. what is the program gonna do? Gonna highlight the incorrect word, and it's gonna say revisit, come back, you did something wrong here, because the programming is right. The programming knows what it's doing. But the highlighted line is telling you go back. And you, because God gave you free will, you're like, oh my God, I have to go back. So in the first one, you go back, you fix, you try different things, try different words, see if it matches, if it makes sense to you. And then there's not going to be a highlighted line, right? So you keep going. And then again, another highlight. You're like, oh my God, I did learn nothing in school because I'm misspelling again. But at this time, you're so in your feelings about not understanding the concept that it gives you the option ignore all. So you go in there and you click ignore all. Please do not send me any more of those grammar correction notifications. I do not want it. I just want to finish my paper and deliver it. My deadline's coming and I have to do it. So you go there, you finish your paper, you're ignoring all those spelling errors. If you write in Portuguese and you haven't dealt with Portuguese in a long time, the little accents on the letter are gonna get you. I'm telling you. But you keep writing, and then eventually you're gonna finish, you're gonna deliver your paper. And we're gonna picture that as our incarnation, right? Where we did all of these things that we didn't want to fix, that we knew it was a problem, we ignore them, and we go back into the spiritual world and we see all the things that we did wrong because the programming is still right. And if I send the paper to somebody else, that person's gonna see the misspellings I did because it's gonna highlight it for them. And that person is ourselves when we discarnate. So our programming is divine. We are all meant to be perfect. We are created like that. Our consciousness is telling us constantly, walk towards God, walk towards Jesus, walk with him. And it really makes us realize back on that we are not meant for hell. We really are not. And we choose hell constantly because of our passions, because of our selfishness, because of our limitations that we still have so many. That's why when we are talking about spiritism, it brings you so much light and understanding of what is that you need to be looking for. So I brought to complete this a passage from the book Taught in Life by Emmanuel, where this is the death chapter, is the second to last, and he talks about following the same principle. Death gives us a, cer- a certificate at the completion of each repeated experience, which is our word doc back here, to which we have adjusted ourselves, as every spirit more or less transforms himself into what he keeps in his mind. If the content is good, we have our portion of heaven that corresponds to the best we have built within ourselves. On the other hand, if it's bad, we must of necessity be detained in our portion of hell. That corresponds to the evil we created until rightful purification is completed, a hell that was of our own making, created in the intimacy of our own consciousness. And it really wraps up everything that we were talking about here. How, if we were to analyze our current states right now, how are we living? Are we living in a state of heaven and hell? If you were to discarnate in this very second with everything that you're thinking, where would you go? And this needs to be a daily exercise for us to be able to do that inner reform that we so look for, to create that space in our lives, in our families. If we are in a state of hell, everybody around us is going to feel that. We're hurting them too. We're vibrating in that low level. So if we want to know where we're going, it takes only a silent understanding of what you're building within you. And that's going to tell you exactly what it is. So, having this understanding, I want us to, back to Gabriel, do an exercise where we're going to kind of close our eyes and we're going to picture Jesus, our master, walking through those doors. And he's coming straight at you, not at me, straight at you. He's looking in your eyes and he is asking you at this very second, he's telling you, You have the chance every day to choose if you're going to heaven and hell. Your future is heaven, but the choice relies with your free will. And that's the message I think we want to pass. And he says that when he goes and says it when in Lucas 9:23, whomever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. And that's how we're going to get to our state of heaven. Thank you.